Okay, so what we'll do is we'll click this edit button, and then you'll notice everything's divided into sections. So you want to go to the section that you want to edit. So if we want to edit this section here, we'll go here. So very important notice, and this is something new in the Squarespace 7.1, is this over here. This is, your typical edit button. This edits like the colors of this particular section. So the different things that I've set up, it edits like the spacing, alignment, things like that. So you shouldn't really need to mess with that with colors and with format. You would simply just need to go to background, and this is where you're gonna replace your photo that's there. And so you'll just hit replace, and you can do one of two things. Well, you do one of three things. You could upload a file so if you went to Canva and got one of your stock images, you would just upload, and then pick one. You can also select from your library, which means you've either uploaded this photo already, or you've used the free images search and you've selected it at one point, and so you can see at the bottom where it's put those images there. So then you're going to see this little dot here. This is like how you can tell it where you want it to focus. So if I wanted to push that photo up, I could put that dot there. If I wanted to push it down to the right, it doesn't really move it too much to the right or the left, but so that's kind of how it is. You might want to play with this on mobile, because depending on where you have it, it can be a little funny. So you're going to notice, yes, right now it's like over her face, but that's because I'm using a really big display screen. And so for most people, that's not where it's going to fall due to the responsive nature. It's going to be lower. So since I've already tested that out, I kind of know where that is, but that is something to just be aware of. Full bleed versus inset. If I do inset, I now have this like border across, which is kind of weird. So I would just keep it at full bleed because this is your header. You can also make this darker or lighter. So typically for the images that we're putting this opacity over, I want to have very bright images so that when this dark kind of opacity goes over it, it doesn't look overly dark. It still maintains that brightness. So that's something to keep in mind when you are changing out a photo that's going to have text over it. Look for a really bright photo so that when you apply that opacity, it doesn't have a really dark look to it. So other than that, you want to change your text. This is very simple. You just start typing, select and typing. Not all text boxes work that way, so it is important to note that may not be for every single case. But I will show you how the other ones work that aren't like that. So this is your text. You can just start typing, as you can see. You can also select it. You can change the color by going here. And then this is how you would change the size. So in the back end, I've set up each one of these to represent a different size. And heading 1 through 4 is what we call, it's one font, and paragraph 1 through 3 is a different font. So heading 2 is pretty much what I would suggest, but maybe you're doing something with like 4 words and you want to make it bigger. Or a lot more words, you want to make it smaller. And then you can see paragraph is going to be this font and so forth. So I'm going to leave it at 2, which you can always change. Same thing for the button. This one works so that you will just simply click on it. You'll click that edit button, and then you'll just point where you want it to go. When you click the little cogs, you can select a page, which is more than likely where you're always going to be going. And so when you select a page, let's pretend that nothing's here, it's going to pull up all the pages that you have. And so you'll just simply select which page you want to go to. If, for example, it's a web address or you're not seeing it in that page list that pops up, you can just copy and paste the link there. You can also do a file, you could have it send an email, or do a phone number. So that is basically how you change your header. Again, design just means like small, medium, large, like the button size. So you can play around with that if you want. You can also make this whole section smaller by going back to this section and I have it pretty big right now. You could make it smaller by doing that. And then this content width will like force your content to be like that. So something you can play with. So again, you go to down to the next section. No need to click on this guy because we're not changing a background image. So up here, we're changing a background image. That's what gives it the side to side where there's no spacing on the side. You have to change it here. For everything else, that's just a basic image. When you put your mouse over it, you'll see image. You'll just click, you'll see that edit button again, and you'll go through the same process where you pick. You can also link your image if you want, and you can also put a caption. And then for every image right here where it says image alternate text, this is what's going to be really, really good for your SEO. So you're going to want to always make sure if you do upload a new image that you replace this alternate text. So let's say let's say HR for small businesses based on the kind of business that this is, if I can spell. There we go. So you'll always want to make sure that's there because what's going to happen is Google's going to read that based on this image. So when people go in and search in Google HR for small business, it will actually like generate this photo, which can link off to your website. So it can be really, really big for helping with that. I also recommend doing that in the file name. So if you are uploading a file, you want to change that before you upload it. It looks like it's letting you change it on the back end, so you might be able to just do this. I usually put the underscores in the file names because sometimes it will read it all as one word if you don't have that underscore, but if you put the underscore, then it will break it up into the words. So that is just very helpful for your SEO. And then same thing, we can change the text. It's the same situation. You can choose paragraph 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can change the colors. You can do that up here, and you can change the button. However, this section right here, and there are a few other sections, this kind words is one, but these are what are called cards, and so they're a little bit different in how you edit them, and in order to edit those, you have to click edit content. So remember this button right here, this is edit section, which is going to be our width, our height, and our background colors. So to edit the actual like text, photos, and buttons, you have to click edit content. Then it's going to pop up into something like this, elements, content, design. So what you would do is you would go over to the content, you would click on the first one. If you want to replace the photo, you replace it. You can also move again that focal point onto where you want it. We put in our alternate text, and then this is where our title will go, and then this is where our description. So at this point, we can't really edit the colors and things like that without going into the back end. So that's why we've kind of set all that up into what you like on this end. You could always do a Google if you want to figure out how to do that to change it up one day, but that involves going into that edit section part. And so then here's our button text, and we click where we want it to go. It does, however, for this text, you can link something. So if you wanted to link a word, you wanted to underline, italics, or bold, you do have the option to do that here in this description. So that is where you will edit these three things here. If you want to delete one, you can delete one. If you want to add one, it will automatically make them all even. So if you do want to add one, you can see it pops it into a new list, but I can easily go over here and say I want 4 columns so that they're all in one. So you can definitely play around with that and kind of like take away and add and it's set up so everything will be even for you. So that is how you edit what are called cards, and I'll just show you it's the same thing on this one. So if you want to change out your reviews, you can change out your reviews. I can move that focal point, like if I moved it down, it's just her skirt. Obviously I want her face with just a little bit of headroom. So I put it there, which it's being finicky, so it was there. Okay, and that is how we're going to edit. Same thing. This is the click. So basically, if you go and you try to like click on it and you realize it's not clicking on it, look for that edit button. That's just an easy way to know. Here, oh, okay, I can click. So, which is good because we've got a little typo, so we can fix it. And then once you're done, just you go over here to the left-hand corner where it says done and click save so that everything's saved. And now it's immediately live if your website is live.